Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, so if I stumble over my words moving forwards, apologies about that. And also, if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well, if there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it cannot be helped, and hopefully it is not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another sort of Eurovision 2023 related video here on my channel, because right now I'm about to answer some of your questions. A few days ago I uploaded a very short video in which I said that I would be filming a Q&A video on my channel within the next couple of days, saying that the cut-off point was going to be part way through Tuesday the 21st of March. It is now part way through Tuesday the 21st of March, and I've received a lot more questions than I expected, so a big thank you to those of you who saw that short video and indeed leave a question or two or three in the comments section. I've seen them, I haven't really planned my answers, but I will be going through all of them right now. I did also receive a question or two via my other social media pages, links in the description as always. I'll be answering them as well. So, without further ado, I'm just going to get through them all. Most of them were Eurovision related, which is fine, and I have answered some of the questions in previous videos too, but as I said at the time, I don't really mind answering them again. So, here we go. Twitter first, and Blue Zone ESC said, what would you like to see as the opening/interval acts, particularly this big artist the BBC have apparently booked? I'm really not too fussed, and the reason I say that is because I never really pay a great deal of attention to the opening/interval acts anyway, especially the interval acts, which I think drag on more than anything else. And I can't remember the last time I was really very invested in an actual interval. Last year we had Mika, he was fine, but I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention to what was going on. I imagine Kalush Orchestra will be there and they'll sing Stefania. I imagine that is how the competition will open. There will probably be some sort of traditional Ukrainian music in general, maybe some sort of traditional Ukrainian dance. I really don't know. Sam Ryder will be there, of course he will. I thought he was teaming up with Kalush Orchestra on a song. I'm not sure that ever surfaced. So Eurovision will be a good time to do a collaboration. Maybe some sort of Ukrainian traditional instrument-filled version of Spaceman. I don't know. I imagine Jamala will be there as well. Ruslana. Sort of makes sense to have the former Ukrainian winners involved, doing a mashup of all their winning entries. Maybe Verka Serduchka will be there as well, why not, even though he didn't win. As for the big artists the BBC have apparently booked, I've no idea. But if it's a really big artist, then you've got to be looking at the sort of thing, or the sort of artist, rather, that's doing very well for themselves. So Ed Sheeran, Adele, somebody, Dua Lipa maybe, somebody along those lines. But I'm not really fussed. As for the postcards, what would you like to see from them? And what might these innovative techniques be? I don't know. They might use drones again. Green screen, but that's not really an innovative technique. Maybe some sort of 3D effect. Holograms, maybe. I have no idea whatsoever. I imagine the postcards... I don't know. I quite like the idea of maybe blending 2015 and 2008. So in 2008 we had literal postcards where the artist was writing a message on screen. And then in 2015 we had each artist receiving a parcel and then going to the host country and doing some sort of traditional activity, which at the time was in Austria. I sort of like the idea of maybe blending those two ideas together. So maybe writing to a loved one, but also doing a Ukrainian-related activity in the UK. No idea, but we will find out more details about the postcards soon enough. That was a long-winded answer, but thank you for those questions. Next, what am I doing? Here we go. So, on the video that I uploaded recently, Galaxy Rich 7194 said, I don't really have a question, but you can rate my top 37 of this year. Okay, you've got Australia first, Czechia second, Norway third, and Ireland, Albania and Croatia as your bottom three. Fair enough. I like Australia. It's my winner of semi-final 2. Norway's one of my favourites. Nice to see the UK in the top 10. Finland up there. Iceland at number 12. That's nice to see. The Netherlands is quite low down. That's a shame. But on the whole, not a bad list. Blimey, I'm choking. Excuse me. Lighthouse620 says, top 10 Eurovision songs of all time. I have answered this question previously, but I will answer it again, because it's an ever-changing list. I have a big spreadsheet. I have many spreadsheets to do with Eurovision, and I'm looking at this big one right now. So, top 10 Eurovision songs of all time, or rather, to date, for me. Number 10 is Denmark 2013, Only Teardrops by Emily de Forest, which won in real life. That is nearly 10 years old. Unbelievable. Ninth is Turkey 2004, Athena for Real. Eighth is Iceland 2003, the opening song of the Riga contest, which has a very special place in my heart. That's Birgitta with Open Your Heart. Seventh is Sweden 2022, my personal winner last year, Cornelia Jacobs' Hold Me Closer. Number 6 is Norway 2020, the cancelled contest, my winner Ulrika with Attention. 5 is Italy 2017, Francesco Gabbani Occidentali's Karma, which I listened to so much. I'm not sure I've ever listened to a Eurovision song so much pre-contest than that one. Number 4 is Estonia 2015, Goodbye to Yesterday, Elina Bornenstig Rasta. Third is Måneskin with Zitti e Buoni, Italy 2021, the real life winner. Number 2 is the Netherlands 2014, the Common Linnets Calm After the Storm, the runner-up in real life. And first is Sweden 2010, Anna Bergendahl, This Is My Life. Although really, if I was to update this list again now, Common Linnets would move into first place and Anna Bergendahl would move into second, which would be a big thing because since I created this list years ago, it has always been Sweden 2010, top of the pile, but that could change. And every year I remove 3 songs and put 3 new ones in, or 2 new ones in. It is a top 30. So number 30, for example, is Denmark 2012. But after this year's contest, Saluna Samay is likely to drop out, and somebody from this year is likely to move in. So there you go. That's my top 10 Eurovision songs to date. Next, Silmaron5859 says, should we still have a big 5 that go to the finals directly, or is it an outdated thing? The only reason we have automatic qualifiers really in the first place is because they are the biggest financial contributors to the ESC. And I believe another reason why it was introduced is because Germany didn't make the cut from that strange pre-qualification round in 1996. And I think a lot of people were very unhappy about that. So in 2000, they introduced this automatic finalists rule. And it's been there ever since. I have thought about this in the past. Maybe the 2 lowest automatic finalists in the final. So, for example, out of the 6 we've got this year, let's say that it's Germany and Spain. They're the lowest of that batch. Maybe next year they go through the semi-finals, but France, the UK, Italy, they are automatically in the final instead, if you see what I mean. Maybe something like that. But you've also got to think about whether that would really be a very smart idea, because let's say Germany were in the semi-finals, didn't qualify. Would it feel really weird not having Germany in the final? And that's a lot of TV viewers you're potentially not getting for the contest because Germany aren't in the final, and a lot of people in Germany watch it every year. So you've got to think of it from a TV viewership perspective as well. Is it outdated? I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. Certainly it's a rule that's going to stay in place for a long time yet. Joseph Hudson 8993. What songs would have performed better or worse if they had been entered in a different year? E.g., I don't think Stefania would have won in most years. Probably not, but it probably would have challenged for the win in most years. This is a really interesting question. I was thinking about it the other day, and it's very difficult to answer because there are so many songs, and then you've got to think of the other songs in other years and make a comparison. So, for example, Cha 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 this year would have done well last year. Stefania would do well this year if it was the Ukrainian entry this year. Probably would win this year. 1944 probably would have challenged for the win in any other year that I can think of, certainly in recent times. Running Scared for Azerbaijan in 2011 probably wouldn't have won in any other year. Only Teardrops probably wouldn't have won in many other recent years. Rise Like a Phoenix might not have won. You know, that probably wouldn't have won in 2018, for example, because we had Fuego and Toy. So maybe Rise Like a Phoenix wouldn't have won in 2018 had it been the Austrian entry that year instead of Cesar Sampson. This is a long-winded answer. It's a very interesting thing to think about. But usually the songs that win would challenge for the win any year, you know. As for songs that finish towards the bottom, I don't know. O Jardim is one of my favourite, if not my favourite, last place ever. Portugal 2018. Would that have struggled in any other year? Probably. Might not have finished last, but it might well have struggled in every other year. And those 4 countries that got 0 points from the public in Rotterdam that time, would they have struggled in any other year? Maybe so. Eurovision is ruthless. I've said this before. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure I've answered it terribly well. In terms of Stefania, you don't think it would have won in most years. Probably not, but it almost certainly still would have challenged for the win. Litchfield Court 247. Do you, or have you ever bet on the outcome of the Eurovision Song Contest? If so, have you profited because of your judgment and knowledge to pick out winners of the contest? The simple answer is no. I've never gambled, or bet, if you prefer, on the Eurovision Song Contest, because I know what I'm like. I would bet on a country that finishes nowhere, knowing me. No, I've never gambled. I've never really thought about it. I make predictions, and sometimes I'm somewhat accurate with those predictions. That's as far as it goes. I've had a few comments in the past from people, and indeed friends of mine, who just so happen to have checked out my videos, saying, wow, you predicted the winner, you predicted the top 3, you predicted the UK would finish here, you were right. Amazing stuff. Really, a lot of it is luck. What I will say about the betting odds is that usually they are somewhat accurate, especially the week of the contest. They're not usually completely wrong. So I would say a few days before the final, any country that's in the top 5 of the betting odds, almost certainly it will be one of those. And at least 3 out of those 5 in the betting odds will make the top 5. It's just very likely. But no, I don't bet on the contest. The next question is from 8Ali8. Hi Reese, what is your opinion about 100% televote in the semi-finals? I think it stinks. I can understand to an extent why it's been introduced this year. We had it before, and then it was scrapped because it got too political based or too much block voting, whatever you want to call it. I don't think we're really going to see that much in the way of a difference. But certainly if a fan favourite flops for whatever reason, people will kick up a stink and say, well, if the juries had been there, it would have gone through. I'm thinking about the Netherlands this year, and that song I personally think is really damaged because there's no jury vote in the semi-finals. There doesn't seem to be a lot of consistency. If you have it in the final, why not just keep it for the semi-finals as well? I suppose the EBU are looking at this and the dodgy voting in semi-final 2 last year, and I can see why they've introduced it. But there's no consistency, and some good songs will inevitably miss out down the line because there's no jury vote to help them over the line. That's a real shame. Long-winded answer. My opinion is it's not great, but it is what it is. Lyle's Tower, hopefully I'm saying that somewhat accurately. What are your general thoughts about the commentators on social platforms about ESC-related subjects? What about the tone and constructive critique? I watch a lot of Eurovision-related commentators on social media. I'm subscribed to a lot of channels, some which are very similar to my own. And yeah, I enjoy them. I think 99% of people are very respectful and understanding and look at both sides. So if they don't like a song, they will find something positive to say about it. And if they do really like a song, they might also find something that actually they're not so keen on. You've got to look at both sides of the argument. I do think on Twitter, for example, it's a lot worse. People are very ruthless and occasionally exceptionally harsh about some Eurovision songs, and that's why you see really petty arguments sometimes online, which is really silly. Thankfully, I've managed to avoid most of that stuff, but certainly Twitter is not a great place sometimes for Eurovision discussions in general, because there's a lot of bitchiness, there's a lot of arguing, and it's just really silly stuff. And you do see it in the comments section of some YouTube-related videos. What really annoys me is how people comment irrelevant stuff. Oh, for example, last year, Chanel, we didn't want her to represent Spain. It should have been Terra by Tanchugueiras, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, this video's not even about the Spanish entry. So who cares what your opinion is on this video? Do you see what I mean? So many times I'll be watching a YouTube video and I'll just look through the comments and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, this is nothing to do with the video. So that annoys me. I've sort of gone off on a bit of a tangent here because I'm supposed to be talking about the people who make the videos. Most of them are very good. Most of them, you can tell, are really big fans of the contest. They really care about the contest. They care about the songs. They care about the results. That's great to see. I like to see that passion. I really like videos that are very statistic-based as well. They're fantastic to watch, very interesting. Very recently, in fact, yesterday I think it was, on my Twitter page, I put up a couple of pictures to do with the semi-finals because I wanted to work out for myself which countries have appeared in each semi-final the most. So, for example, Norway appeared in semi-final 2 for nearly a decade in a row. So if you're interested in that, take a look at my Twitter page. I'm really interested in the statistic-based stuff. Constructive criticism is all good. That's what I try and do in my videos, look at both sides of the argument. If I don't like a song, I'll say that. Why lie? Why pretend otherwise? You know, say how you really feel, but at the same time, don't be super harsh or super over the top. If you don't like a song, try and find something good in it. Because it's very rare that I absolutely dislike everything about a song, whether it's Eurovision related or not. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Croatian song this year. I think the Romanian song isn't that great at all. But there are things that I like about those songs as well. So I will mention what I don't like and like in the same video. Hopefully that answered your question. Next, 8Ali8. Do you think Eurovision will... Oh, this is another question by the same person. Do you think Eurovision will welcome new countries soon? And if so, which countries? Maybe not many, because a lot of the countries that could participate aren't really in Europe. You've got Gibraltar, but they're part of the UK. You've got the Faroe Islands, they're part of Denmark. I don't think they can compete by themselves. Kosovo is perhaps the most likely one. They've been trying for a few years. So I think if we do have a new country soon, it will be them. Otherwise, I think new countries... I think maybe we've exhausted all possibilities, to be honest with you. Borat Petrovic 7203. I was surprised to hear your rather harsh judgment on Armenia, which happens to be my favourite at the moment. Has the song grown on you at least a bit? Yes, it has. I like it more than I did the first time I heard it. Not going to be one of my favourites of the year, but there are things that I like about it. I like her, Brunette, as a singer. I like the fact she floats above that stage in a music video. That could somehow be recreated in Liverpool. That would be a real moment. I like her voice. I like the fact she wrote the song herself. I like the strings. Yes, I like it more than I did the first time I heard it. Lauravision 2791. If you had to pick right now just one country, who do you think is winning Eurovision 2023? Sweden. I don't see any other country winning. I really, really don't. Because one country might suffer with the juries, one country might suffer with the public, but Sweden will do well with both the jury and the public. Out of the countries that haven't won yet, who do you think will be the first to win? Poland, if they get their act together. Lithuania, I think they're building up for a maiden victory. Possibly Iceland at some point within the next 15-20 years. Hopefully sooner than that. Croatia is an independent country, potentially. Yugoslavia won in the past and it was held in Zagreb. Czech Republic at a push. I think maybe Poland or Lithuania. Or Australia. Adam Tideman 4953. Which Eurovision 2023 song in English do you think would benefit the most in singing their song in their own national language? Great question. I'm going to have to load up this page. A song in English that would work in a country's native language. So maybe if Czechia's entry was entirely in Czech. What else have we got here? Maybe Azerbaijan's entry in their own language. What else have we got? Maybe Estonia's entry in Estonian. That might sound quite nice. Iceland's entry, of course, was in Icelandic, and they could have kept it in Icelandic, but I don't mind the English version at all. Yeah, I think maybe that's about it. Can't really think of anybody else. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Viper-like 498. Was there a song from a national final this year that wasn't chosen that you thought could have won the whole contest? For me, it was Ollie with Venom. That would have done well, no doubt about it. Maybe that would have done better than Bridges will do in Liverpool. That's a very real possibility. No is the answer. I don't think so. My favourite national final song of the season was Ulrika with Honestly from MGP. I don't think that would have won Eurovision though. Can't really think of anything else. No, I don't think so, to be honest. I really don't think so. No, can't think of anything off from the top of my head. Anyway, Master Key 672. What is your history with Eurovision? When was the first time you watched it? I've answered this before, I'll answer it again. 2003, 20 years ago, the Riga contest. I remember watching some of it, vaguely, very hazy memories. It's a contest that's very dear to me. Great songs, close voting, great stage, absolutely wonderful stuff. But in terms of actually becoming a fan, that was several years later. And then in terms of paying attention to the semi-finals, that was in 2006. And in terms of paying attention to national finals and Eurovision year-round, that was probably only about 11 years ago, 11 or 12 years ago. Why did I start this YouTube channel? Because I felt like it. I wanted to talk about the contest with somebody. There's not many people in my life who really care about Eurovision as much as I do. And I just thought, I'll film stuff for YouTube. Why not give it a go? Didn't really expect anything from it. Still don't. But I'm still making videos to this day. It was originally going to be just videos in May, reacting to the results, but then I obviously branched out and started making videos year-round. It would be fun to know how your Eurovision journey started. Yes, so I've just told you. You did mention Melfest here. In terms of Melfest, it was about a decade ago when Robin Schoenberg won. That's when I started paying attention to Melfest a bit more. And then a few years ago, I went through every Melfest song of my lifetime, so 1993 to the present day, and listened to all of them pretty much, and ranked all of them. And that's how I came to know Melfest quite well. It's as simple as that. Cat Wellham 9555. Do you think this is a good year? Yes. Maybe not quite as strong as last year, but it's a good year. What is my favourite ESC year in terms of sheer song quality and variety? Very difficult to answer. 2003 was good. 2012 was a strong year in terms of songs that I enjoyed. 2016 was great. 2018 was great. Rotterdam 2021 was great. And 2020. If we go further back in time, it's hard to say. 1998, I think, was a fairly strong year. I know a lot of people really love 1985. It's difficult to answer because I'm not quite as familiar with contests pre-1990. But certainly from my lifetime, it would be the ones that I've just mentioned. Mr. Expat, what, in your opinion, would have been the outcome if each country sent last year's songs in a past competition? Would the top 5 remain unchanged or no? This is very similar to a question I answered a minute ago, and it's a difficult one to answer because you've got to think of all the songs from a previous year and then make that comparison. So, Hold Me Closer would have... I mean, that would have done well any year. Stephania would have done well any year. Spaceman would almost certainly have done well any year. There would be variations, of course, but mostly the songs that do well in any year would almost certainly do well in any other year. Austria 2018, maybe not as much. North Macedonia 2019, probably, that didn't finish in the top 5, but it was the jury winner, and that probably wouldn't have been the jury winner in any other year, potentially. I don't know. Do you think that Turkey will ever decide to compete again in the future? Yes. I think the guy who's running for president or something wants Turkey to return. I'm not entirely sure. What's your opinion on the reason of their absence? I'll tell you exactly what I think their reason was. In 2012, Can Bonomo did really well with the public and didn't do very well with the juries. And I think the Turkish broadcaster looked at that and thought, well, the juries don't like us. We'll leave then. Screw you. I honestly think that is one of the main reasons why Turkey left the contest, because they thought the public like us pretty much every year, the juries never seem to. So screw you, until you do something with the juries, we're not coming back. And also, I think maybe they just got tired of Eurovision, to be honest. Maybe they thought that they weren't going to win again for whatever reason. I don't know, but I do think they will come back at some point. I think it's more likely they'll return than Luxembourg, for example. Thank you for your questions. Next, Silmaron5859, another question. What are your earliest Eurovision memories? I've already answered that, 2003, but I do specifically remember watching the 2005 contest in this room, I'm sure it was, and I can tell you exactly, France, the last song of the Kyiv 2005 contest, they were about to perform Ortal with Chacun pour soi. And I think the postcard was Ukrainian models on the catwalk. My dad came in and said, I think it's time you went to bed, bearing in mind that I was 12 years old at the time. So I didn't know that Greece won until the following day. But I very much remember watching some of the 2005 contest on television, and very, very hazy memories of 2004 and 2003. So they're my earliest memories. How did I get hooked on it? I don't really know. I just was interested in it pretty much right from the start and looked forward to it every year. It's as simple as that. I remember being at my granddad's house. He passed away many years ago now, but I remember being at his house and printing Eurovision related stuff off from the internet, just copying and pasting loads of stuff. I've still got those sheets to do with the 2006 contest, I think. I really ought to go through that folder at some point. Maybe you'll be interested in that, I don't know. But it was just reams and reams of Eurovision related stuff. And also, when I was at school, how I didn't get told off for this I don't know, I would copy and paste entire Wikipedia articles onto Microsoft Word and just print them off. And you were only supposed to print off 20 sheets of A4 a week. I think that was the limit. Oh, boy did I meet that limit every week. I just printed an excessive amount of stuff at school. And I saved every document as well. So what the IT guys must have thought, because I had about 100 saved documents on my school account, everybody else had about 5. Ridiculous. Anyway, thank you for that question. Styro1680, can you name the 3 most important things you learned thanks to Eurovision? It can be something small, like fun facts about a certain country. I've learned plenty of them. Or something more global, like eye-opening moments about how our world works. It's up to you. Well, I've certainly learned a lot of words in different languages. I think that's the thing that I've learned the most. Different musical styles, how different countries organise their selections. For example, I know Sanremo in Italy is going to be very, very long and quite formal, whereas another national final might be completely different. I know about certain countries' attitudes to Eurovision and things like that. I'm not sure anything particularly groundbreaking, but certainly my interest in other countries and languages has grown a lot over the years, and I do think Eurovision is has played a part in that, absolutely. I have a book about Copenhagen, because I was interested in Denmark, in Copenhagen, when they hosted in 2014. And every year it's the same, really. So I've been reading a lot about Liverpool over the past few months, trying to learn more about it as a place. When Vienna hosted, I learned more about Vienna. I became interested in Vienna. I did my master's dissertation on locations that have staged the Eurovision Song Contest. Maybe I ought to share some of those poems in a video moving forwards. Let me know if you'd be interested in a completely different video from me in which I read out poetry. But yeah, Eurovision has definitely played a big part in my life. And also, it just broadens your musical horizons. I've discovered so many new musicians, Eurovision related or not, from other countries. Certainly Scandinavian artists in particular. And also that's fed through to other forms of art as well. So movies, I've become interested in foreign language movies more. And maybe that stems from my interest in Eurovision. I don't know. That's a very good question, though. The last one here, JTB357. What is your favourite year of Eurovision, host-wise and song-wise? 2003, like I said earlier, very special place in my heart. Song-wise, I've already answered that as well. Very difficult to answer. Do I always watch it alone? Yes. When I was a lot younger, I did watch bits and pieces with my parents. But for many, many years now, I've watched it by myself. Do I get depressed after Eurovision is over, or am I happy it's over? Usually I'm happy it's over, because it's nice to take a break from making videos for a while and blogging about it and thinking about it all the time. I wouldn't say I get depressed. It's a shame when it's over, but at the same time, you just move on to next year's contest. The cycle's never ending. Do I have an all-time clear favourite song? No. It is a very close thing. I just went through my top 10 to date. The Common Linnets is very likely to be my new number 1, but it's not a clear-cut thing at all. Do I want the orchestra to come back? Maybe. I'm not sure where you'd fit them around the stage anymore, especially because the green room is generally quite massive. It would be interesting, wouldn't it? I'm thinking of Finland's entry this year. How would that sound with an orchestra? I don't know. Then again, Zitie Buoni sounded fantastic with an orchestra. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Should we have more countries in 3 semi-finals? I don't know what countries would take part to enable us to have 3 semi-finals. We've barely got enough countries for 2 semi-finals. So I think 3 semi-finals is a bit much. Should we experiment with 1 extra country per year outside Europe besides Australia in a rotating system? Seems like fun. Maybe. World Vision is surely only a couple of years away. We were supposed to have a Eurovision Asia contest. That never happened. The American Song Contest has been shelved for a while. I didn't really pay much attention to that. I don't even think I spoke about it on my channel, which was a bit bizarre, but there we are. The Eurovision Dance Contest. Remember that once upon a time. It would be interesting. I mean, can you imagine K-pop at Eurovision? The interest would be absolutely through the roof. So yeah, another interesting thing to think about. I'm not sure it will ever happen. And really, if it does, you have to wonder whether you could still call it Eurovision. Should we have a different points system? Why not 1 to 10? This way it may be more exciting, because giving 12 a couple of times will make it hard for other countries to keep up, or even a total new rewarding system. The voting system seems to be tweaked every couple of years. It will be tweaked again in the near future, I'm sure. I don't know. I think 1 to 12, it's classic. I think we may as well keep it. I absolutely understand the point you say here about some countries pulling ahead. It is what it is, but it's a classic format. I think it would be a real shame if it drastically changed. If anything, if the points system does change, why not just have a 9 points and an 11 points? Introduce that instead. I don't know, but thank you for those questions. The last one, ladies and gentlemen, I really apologise because I've rambled ridiculously here, and I'm not sure I've answered some questions terribly well, but the last question, hopefully I've missed nobody out. Carolyn Nielsen, 7537, for your Q&A, what do you do for work and what's your name? My name is Reese. I think I must have mentioned that plenty of times in the past, but yes, that's my name. My channel is RAJC, they're my initials. As for what I do for work, bit difficult to answer, won't go into specifics, but I work in education at the moment. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. I'm also from Northamptonshire in the UK, if you were wondering that as well. That's it. I've answered all of these questions, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a lot, more than I've ever had before. I'm very, very grateful. My goodness, I'm not sure what's happening with the webcam quality here, but there we are. Hopefully there wasn't much lag here and you could see me perfectly well. My next video, very likely to be my top 37 of the year so far. So if you're interested, stick around for that. Blog posts about Georgia and Italy will be surfacing when I can finally be bothered to type them up. Until next time, thank you very much for all of the support. It means a great deal. Thank you, thank you. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, apologies for rambling, and bye for now.